Good evening, everyone. My name is Don Crowley. I'm Head of Department of Organisation and Professional Development at the MTU School of Business on the Bishopstown campus. It's my pleasure to welcome you here this evening to this information session on our MBA in Strategy. And I'm delighted to welcome my colleague, Dr. Angela Wright, Senior Lecturer in the Department of Organisation and Professional Development, and two of our current students on the MBA programme, Julia Schriefer and Patrick Shilelds. And my thanks to Pat and Isabel in the MTU Business Academy for coordinating and facilitating this webinar this evening. Just to note that the webinar is being recorded, so it will be available afterwards if you would like to share it. Before we discuss the MTU MBA strategy, let us first think about why you may be here. You're driven, ambitious and motivated. You're well qualified in your profession and you're at a good level in your career, but you're possibly aspiring to the next level, either with your current employer or elsewhere, and you want to enhance your employability prospects. You may feel that you've become a little stale and that you need to upscale or put some energy into your CPD. Perhaps you want to unlock your potential and expand your professional network, refresh your education and stand out to your employer and develop your leadership skills and your confidence. People do MBAs for many reasons, including those I've just mentioned. And with the MTU MBA strategy, from the outset, you'll be encouraged to connect with your peers, challenged to think creatively and problem solve, and to identify and exploit opportunities. And I can confidently say that you will emerge from the program with greatly added value to you as a professional. The MTU MBA offers flexibility as it is delivered part-time and mostly online. It typically comprises a diverse class with a good mix of gender, ethnicity, industries and professions, including experienced engineers, accountants, scientists, project managers, those working in local government, education and healthcare. We have students from a range of multinationals, SMEs and the not-for-profit sector. Some of those doing the MBA strategy actually already have another master's in their technical discipline, but the MBA is about more. It's that broader organizational appreciation and preparing you for the next stage in your career. As a student of MTU, you'll be part of a community of 18,000 students. And the School of Business on our Bishopstown campus has approximately 3,500 students, with almost 1,000 of those studying part-time across a range of disciplines, including business, human resource management, and accountancy. Our ethos is based firmly in the real world, with a strong reputation for our engagement with industry and developing work-ready graduates. Our MBA has been running successfully since 2018 and was built on the foundations of our very successful Master of Business program, which ran since 2006, and from which we have almost 200 graduates. The MBA program was developed following strong and close industry collaboration and consultation, something that MTU and CIT before it is well reputed for. The MBA is a member of the MBA Association of Ireland, and as a student, you get that membership too, allowing you to attend various events locally, regionally, and nationally. As a student of our MBA, you will have the opportunity to learn from your peers. You will get face time with highly regarded guest speakers, and you will grow your executive outlook, develop your leadership ability and agility, and get a strong grounding in the business domain. So now I would like to hand you over to my colleague, Dr. Angela Wright. Dr. Wright is a senior lecturer in our department, the Department of Organisation and Professional Development. She's also the program director for the MBA and will lecture on a number of the modules, as well as supervising most of the research thesis. Angela is joined by two current students, Julia and Patrick, and I'd like to invite you as well during their discussion to put any of your questions in the Q&A section at the bottom of your Zoom screen, and we'll explore these at the end of the session. So Angela, Patrick and Julia, over to you.
Thanks very much, Don. And you're all very welcome to our open meeting for the MBA this evening. As Don mentioned, I am the Program Director for the MBA, but my main role on this programme will be to work with you and liaise with you all to ensure a successful outcome for you and your MBA journey. Along with that, as Don mentioned, I do deliver some of the modules in the programme. For example, in the first year of the programme, I deliver research methods. So that's in the first semester, starting this September now. And here you will look at a research topic and you will pick something that's of interest to you and very relevant to you in your work and business environment. Now, this is quite flexible, in fact, so you can pick anything that you're interested in, provided that it has a business angle, however. Then again, in the first year and the second semester, I deliver contemporary issues. And this is a very interesting subject, I suppose, because it looks at all things contemporary to business and managerial practice in particular. So in the past, we've examined Brexit and COVID-related issues, of course, remote working, leadership, and trying to lead remote teams, working with remote teams, and so on. Now, we also look at business ethics, and a big part of this module deals with business ethics in particular, because it's an integral part of all business practice, of course. Then, of course, sustainable practices, smart practices, green practices are fundamental for this particular module as well. So then moving on to second year, for the summer semester here, along with my colleague Don, we run the international business trip. Now, this is a fantastic trip. Our feedback has been everybody really enjoys this and gets a lot from it. It involves 5 days abroad in Leuven, and this is east of Brussels. So typically we meet with representatives from IBEC, IFA, IDA, Enterprise Ireland, and we visit companies such as Microsoft, Audi, DHL Logistics Hub, and of course we visit the European Parliament and meet with MEPs if they're available. So this is a very interesting outing. So also we've been very fortunate in the past to have had some excellent guest speakers, most recently, for example, Tony Connolly from RTE, which was very engaging. Of course, he was talking about the Ukrainian problems and issues there. We've also had Bobby Kerr and Anya Kerr and many more. So in the second year then, in the second semester, the very last module that you will look at is the research thesis. And this thesis will follow on from what you've picked in first year, beginning in September, and your research area and what you are interested in. So on completion of this will be the end of the programme. Now, for more details on the module, you can check out the Business Academy website and you get full listings there of our colleagues and what's involved in the programme. So that's it for me for now. If you have any questions, be sure to put them in the chat and we will get to them at the end of the seminar. So now, as promised, I want to introduce you to two of our current students, but I have to say, soon to be graduates, of course, of our MBA programme, and they both completed all of the programme at this point. So I'd like to welcome Julia Schriefer, who works in cybersecurity, and Patrick Shilelds, who works in the tourism hospitality sector. Now I'm going to ask Julia and Patrick a number of questions just to discuss their programme experience. So I'll just alternate between Julia and Patrick as we go along. So I'm going to go with Julia first. And if you're there, Julia.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
Hello, Julia.
Hello.
And thanks for joining us this evening. We really appreciate it. So Julia, I'm going to start with you and I'm going to ask you, going back and just thinking of all of the people on the call this evening, what first motivated you to start studying an MBA with us at MTU?
Sure. So there were actually two main drivers that motivated me to do an MBA at the MTU. And the first one was obviously professionally. In 2008, 4 years ago, more or less, I kind of felt stagnated at work. So it was something that Don mentioned in his introduction, and I could really relate to that. And I wanted to progress academically, as I always wanted to do that master degree for my career development. My personal belief is that a master degree will always benefit you when applying for a job, no matter if you're internally applying in your organization or externally. You will always be able to put yourself at a more a better position than other people applying for the same job, and as well financially. So a master degree will always put you at a really good negotiation position to request a higher salary, which I personally benefited as well. So obviously it also had a financial benefit to me in mind. So I applied for the MBA at MTU because it was a part-time program, which I found great because it was flexible and it allowed me to work full-time. And I was particularly interested in the strategic management focus because it aligns with my personal job as a strategic account manager in the cybersecurity area. So why MTU? Prior to the MBA, I did a higher diploma in sales and sales management, also in the MTU, or back then the CIT. And I really, really enjoyed it. It was very engaging. It was very practical. I could really relate to a lot of stuff, and learning felt so fun. Learning was so enjoyable. So it was for me an easy choice to, you know, go back even further and do a master level 9 degree. And another point was obviously personal. It was always my wish to do a master degree one day. And during COVID and lockdown, I mean, we all know there was not much to do. I mean, there's so much you can explore within 5 kilometers. And I literally had to do something. And for me, then there was no better time for me to do a part-time course and, you know, be busy and, you know, keep myself busy. So yeah, that was definitely one of my 2 main drivers, professionally and personally.
Thanks very much, Julia. With that, Patrick, over to you. What was your main motivation?
Sure. Hello, everyone. So I attended MTU in the early 2000s to complete the hospitality management program. And I found the college at that time was very practical, like Julia was saying. So anything that we did was very practical. It was very industry focused. I felt prepared for industry when I was doing the course there. And I have experience of other universities, and I didn't get such a sense of that as I did with MTU. So that made it easy for me when I was looking at masters down the line to go back to MTU. Just like Julia, it was an ambition of mine for a very, very long time. And then when the opportunity came up, I jumped at it really. The reason why I was interested in a master's and a business master's was over the years, or particularly early on in my career in hotel management, I always asked myself the question, if I ever wanted to change industry or needed to change industry, what would I need to do? And I realized that with a master's, you could step out of hospitality perhaps and into a totally different field. Looking at the specifications, you just needed to have that degree qualification, and you could explore something which would be an area I would always be interested in, which is business, and then potentially lead to other opportunities. So that was a key thing for me. And then finally, more and more in the senior management roles in my industry in particular, masters is preferred, or they're looking for people with masters, or it's certainly an advantage to you when going for jobs. So those were the 3 reasons for me.
Fantastic, Patrick. Thanks very much for that. So back over to you, Julia. What were your expectations, I suppose, before you started the program?
It was definitely to learn new things. I generally love to learn and being efficient with my time. I think that's the German gene in me. And I was always open-minded to any subject, even the ones I thought I would dislike, because during my bachelor's degree, I had to participate courses like finance and macroeconomics. And I was like, oh, I'm not so sure if I like these, but these subjects were actually the ones that I enjoyed the most. So my expectation was obviously see a benefit having that degree or pursuing that degree at my workplace. And since then, I got promoted, I got an increase in salary. And that was also my expectations I had. I really wanted to get a professional and financial benefit, which definitely happened. So it turned all out well, and I can just recommend it to anyone to be open-minded to any subject and be open-minded and enjoy the learning process.
Thanks, Julia, and congratulations on your promotion as well. Well done on that.
Thank
Great
you.
achievement. Well deserved. So Patrick, over to you, your own expectations before you started the program.
Sure. I was drawn to the title of the program, being business, obviously, and strategy. I have a huge interest over the years in behavioral management and how teams behave at work and that kind of thing. So I was really hoping that there would be subjects that would delve into that. Unfortunately, that was the experience. One example would be Jane Leonard, who I would have known of since Middleton Chamber days. I was involved in the Chamber of Commerce, and so was Jane, and she's a lecturer at MTU. And she did a module called Organisational Behaviour with Leadership, and it was fantastic. It really delved into what happens during times of change, and I found it very affirming because I'd gone through a good bit of stuff in businesses that were either changing ownership or implementing new teams, and a lot of bits and pieces you have to manage. And to see that there was a theoretical background to all of that academically was reaffirming and kind of helps you in your future decision making. So I was hoping it would delve into that, and it really did in a practical sense. And the other aspect was I was looking forward to going back on campus at MTU. And the hybrid model really worked for me because I'm based for work in Ardmore in County Waterford. So the fact of, yes, we had classes at MTU and we also did it during the pandemic. So there was a significant amount of online, and that really suited me, the online. So I could literally take classes while still at the hotel, you know, after work, or just open the laptop at home. So yeah, those are my expectations going in, that I would delve into those areas and also help me do the program with work demands, and it lived up to that.
Super altogether. And just to say that we are continuing with the online program in September. And also you mentioned Jane Leonard, and Jane Leonard is one of our lecturers on the program, and as you say, a very enjoyable subject matter that Jane deals with there on the program as well. So thanks for that, Patrick. So just moving on back to Julia there, I suppose your personal experiences on the program.
Well, I wouldn't be here if I wouldn't have enjoyed it, and I must really say that I truly enjoyed the program in the 2 years. I actually can't believe it's already over. The time is flying, and it has been exactly what I was looking for. I developed personally, I developed professionally, and I also have like a really great memory of college, which I haven't had before. So they're all good experience. I met great people, aka Patrick Shilelds, for example. I grew a great network, and whichever subject I listened to, I could pull information, bits and pieces, and they benefited me now, and it will benefit me in the future. So I think, again, I want to highlight the network aspect because there's so different industries and different people. You become so open and interested, and you have the possibility to dive into other industry maybe if you want to. So I think the networking piece is definitely something that I can remember the most from as a personal experience perspective.
Thanks, Julia. Do you want to just maybe link that to your highlights and happy moments? So just to take that with that one, and I'll ask Patrick those two as well, just as you mentioned some of the happy moments there and highlights.
Of course, yeah. As I mentioned earlier, I was open-minded to any subject, even the one I thought I wouldn't like. So actually realizing that I enjoy things like finance or macroeconomics or whatever program, and I was able to adapt these things and apply it to my job and benefit from it, that actually made me really happy, because I realized that it was the right choice to do the program. And as I mentioned, I could develop my skills and knowledge, and it was just so personally rewarding to, it makes you proud when you get a good assignment, or it makes you proud when you learn something. And I think that pride I will really take with me. But from a personal perspective, I think the proudest moment I had in this program was when my brother, who is really smart, and he has like 2 master's degrees and 1 PhD, when he said that he's very proud of me that I finished it. I think that was definitely my proudest moments, when I actually finished and looked back and said, I really did it. So this is one of the best feelings.
Oh, it's lovely, Julia. Really nice. Patrick, I'm going to take the two of those together as well. The personal experience in the program, your highlights, happy moments, maybe, because they go together.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd second that with Julia. Like, just a quick example is Julia and I are in a WhatsApp group with 4 other people, which I think started from a project. I don't even remember, but we actually used that over the course of 2 years to help each other out if we had questions about different modules. And we're still in touch today, even though we've handed in our thesis and all at this stage. And it's just lovely to make friends like that. And I think we'll be friends for a long time, which is great. I'm delighted that I built a network. I'm delighted that I stepped out of my own comfort zone. Hospitality management can be quite singular in its outlook. And then I was in a class with people from pharmaceuticals and cybersecurity and lots of other industries, even retail. And I was speaking to a guy named Brian Davern recently, who's the head of Europe for Virgin Hotels. And he's actually the brother of Donna Davern, who's a lecturer at MTU as well. And he did exactly the same thing. He did a master's in a business area, which he didn't do before. And the best thing for him was stepping out of his comfort zone and the learning you get from that. So that was my experience, and the happy moments really are the friendships that you take with you, and just meeting lovely people who are probably at a similar stage of life. I would agree that there was a diverse range of people finally in the course, whether it's from backgrounds where people are from, you know, different age levels, different levels of experience, where they are on the management ladder. And I really enjoyed speaking to them about how they found it effective and what they would bring to their roles. How did they step up through the ranks? What were the pitfalls? That networking opportunity was fantastic.
Thank you, Aziz. And I suppose that has been our experience with students, is the networks, and they do stick together, and you know, networks build networks and more networks. So I suppose we can't talk about the happy moments without telling all of the people on the call what are the big challenges. So we have to put forward a balanced view, of course. So Julia, I'll start with you with the challenges, and how did you get through?
Well, one of the challenges is definitely the workload, and I don't want to sugarcoat it, because I did expect it will be hard work, but I personally did not expect it being that high of a workload, and that shouldn't scare anyone away, because it is manageable if you manage your time well. So getting used to that continuous learning and continuous assignment was challenging at the beginning, but I'd say with everything in life, it just becomes a habit and easier over time. And I mentioned it earlier, that higher diploma I did at MTU before the MBA personally prepared me really well to get that discipline, and you know, I could adapt to that continuous learning quite easy. But if there's one thing I really followed, was actually Angela's advice about doing baby steps. And that approach just saved me a lot of stressful moments, a lot of pressure and freakouts, because I can just, you know, recommend that to everyone, that don't wait that your work is done last minute. Do something every single day, even if it's just 15 minutes, because if you add up these little baby steps at the end, they become a big one that gets you through the program easier, with more breaks and more preparation, and at the end also better results.
Thanks, Julia. And I suppose just to back in that, nothing, I suppose, worthwhile, you know, is it's going to be easy. You know, that's the reality.
Yeah, but I mean, if it would be easy, everyone would do it. And I mean,
right.
that's something that you stand out. Exactly.
Thanks, Julia. Patrick, for you, the big challenging ones, the challenging days, the tough days?
Sure, yeah, working full time, anything can happen at work. You know, you could be required to stay late or do a long shift and then face into kind of MBA classes, which can be challenging. I used a lot of the time in lockdown, in particular at that time, to work on assignments and stuff. And I would agree with Julia in that I suppose when you're given assignments, to probably start them as soon as you can, even if it's very, very rough. Because you'll appreciate that when the deadlines loom, say at Christmas or the summer, that you've done a bit of work already, and get the pieces in place. It can be challenging when it comes to the thesis, and you're looking for, say, if you're doing interviews. And what I learned was one or two people can let you down. You know, one or two people could commit to an interview with you that are overseas, and it might fall through. That happened to me in a minority of cases, but I was very happy with those who did come through an interview for me. Any other challenges? The workload, like Julia says, is significant, but as I say, with proper planning and starting them as soon as you get them, what I used to do would be, I would do a page, and I would do that over consecutive nights, and all of a sudden your word count is building. But I suppose probably where Julia is coming from, or what I would have felt, was when you're working full time and you might be working very hard in a job at a challenging time, you just want to give your best to the assignments, and it requires a lot of work to make sure it's at the level you probably want your assignment to be. And I remember what was said to us at our very first day actually was, we would get out of the MBA course what we put into it. So I really felt that over the 2 years, the more time I was able to assign to the MBA, definitely the more I got out of it.
Yeah, absolutely, Patrick. And I suppose just to comment on that as well, I suppose we find that most of the high achievers like yourself and Julia, who take the program, are very busy at work. And that's a reality. And I don't think we've had anybody that isn't busy, or, you know, I suppose trying to push themselves forward in their careers and managing stressful situations day by day. And then, you know, you're on an MBA program. So, and I suppose it reminds me of what people say, you know, ask a busy person to do something for you and they'll do it, you know, and it's true. Everybody on the program is busy and juggling. So, and that's absolutely true. And I suppose coming on to that then, I suppose the key skills, Julia, I suppose, would be time management.
Oh, 100%, definitely. Time management, but also strategic thinking, which I personally really benefited at my work, because I work in strategic account management, and the MBA really helped me to kind of understand the bigger picture of a business. So it really helped me in the conversation with my clients or with my colleagues. I'm more critical as well. I'm asking more why and why not, and I question more things in a critical but rational way. Another key skill I really noticed that I developed is communication skills. And obviously, everyone is probably saying they're good communicators, but I think there's something you can always improve. And I kind of really feel my communication, especially with upper management, senior level leadership, really improved, because I understood the language, I understood their pains, I just understood how I can talk to them. And I'd say the most one is confidence, because if you are able to achieve a 2 years MBA program part-time while working full-time, there's no way you can't be proud and confident about it.
Absolutely. That's totally true. Patrick, you mentioned time management was a big one for you in this key skills. Do you want to add anything to that one?
Sure, yeah. I mentioned previously the behavioral management. I got an awful lot out of that. Definitely the critical thinking, but also I'm working in industry now 21 years, and to know that there's academic work on a lot of the situations that we deal with was very reassuring. I mentioned that previously. It's definitely framed how I think about things going forward. It's definitely made those situations less personal for me, which I think is a healthy thing. It's great to know that there's research done already and people have come to conclusions that can help us in our day-to-day work. One other module that I really enjoyed was strategic corporate finance. We did a lot on stocks and shares, and I had an interest in that for years, and I didn't even realize that would be something that would come up in the course. So all of a sudden we're going through stocks and shares and how that works and that kind of thing. Again, very, very practical and very enjoyable, and I definitely take that forward with me.
Absolutely. And our colleagues there are Mick O'Callaghan and Bernard Vallely, who delivered the finance. And we have found that as well, the feedback on finance has been really, really positive, even though some people coming to the program mightn't have a lot of background in finance. So that's absolutely super. So I suppose the next one really is the big one. Julia, how do you feel now that you have the big pieces submitted and you're at the end?
Well, obviously really big relief, but also kind of disbelief, because as I mentioned earlier, those 2 years were absolutely flying. I'm extremely proud I completed it and very grateful for the experience and the opportunity. And as I mentioned earlier, the MTU MBA program has already benefited me from a job perspective. And I know that it will, provide me more advantages during my career. And another thing is people gain respect from you. I mean, as I mentioned, studying part-time and working full-time is not easy, and people have respect from that and from your ambition and discipline. And not everyone can finish it. So not everyone has, that ambition that's needed to minimize their social life, their Netflix times, and work their studies after a long and tiring day at work. And that ambition is obvious to anyone that will hire you. So that's kind of something that I always process, since I'm finished.
Absolutely. And just on the Netflix thing, even myself, I find if you reduce the Netflix, it's amazing what you can get done in the evening.
I know. And I always told myself, you can watch Netflix when you're finished. You can watch Netflix. And I'm actually really binge watching it at the moment, because I'm, you enjoy the time more. But yeah.
You can catch up on Netflix and you'll have
exactly.
your
No, I have all the time.
Yeah. And what we always say about qualifications, they can never be taken away from you, once you have them. So that's the key thing.
Yeah.
So Patrick, for you, after submitting your thesis, how do you feel now that you've got in the bag and done?
Well, the only person happier than me, Angela, is my very understanding wife, Natalia, who's thrilled because especially towards the last 6 months, you want to give it your best shot and put in as much time as you can. The thesis for me, I really enjoyed working with yourself on that and all of the guidance that was given to me, because I tended to go down rabbit holes or off topic and stuff like that. And it was great to be realigned again and put back on the straight road, which saves a lot of time. But the network I built out of that, just one very quick story on that. I asked a very high-powered gentleman in Marriott hotels if I could interview him. And he said, no problem, straight away. He was based out in Dubai at the time, and he's since moved to South Africa with the company, and he stepped up another role into another role. And I just connected with him for that 2 hours that I was interviewing him for the thesis, took a huge amount from him experience-wise. And then about 4 or 5 months later, we had the Irish Hotels Federation conference up in Cavan, and he was at the conference as a speaker. So now I get to meet him in person because the interview was all at Zoom. We connect again, and who knows what opportunities that it opens up in the future. And I could give you about 9 or 10 of those examples, you know. So I'm delighted that the thesis is submitted, but what I'm more thrilled about is the network I've developed out of that, because I contacted people via LinkedIn from all over the world. So I've got great connections now out of those interviews.
Super. And it's the one thing I say to all students: reach for the stars when you're looking for your thesis, because it's the one stick out for you. It's an individual piece, you know, it's going to be your takeaway from it. And to reach out to anybody that you feel you can reach out to, in terms of somebody you can connect with, maybe, you know, for no excuse or for no reason. So the thesis really does give us a reason and an excuse to reach out to all sorts of people. So that's brilliant, Patrick, that you got that opportunity, and I've no doubt it will certainly stand to you for sure. So last but not least, I'm going to ask you both, I'm going to start with Julia. I suppose the 3 most important are your 3 top tips for future students that we are thinking about maybe tonight now, or in the future starting an MBA with us.
Yeah, first of all, like, you're never in this alone. You always have your peers, your lecturers. You have always someone you can ask for advice if you need it. You get great help from the lecturers regarding assignments. So just, you know, take that pressure away. You're never alone in this. And definitely ask yourself what you want to get out of this program, and always have that in mind. Is it a promotion with your company? Is it a move into another one? Is it purely personal or whatever? Have that goal in mind, and it will help you with your motivation during the program, because we all have up and downs at one stage. But what I can say overall, an MBA will always help you. It will always benefit you. A degree is something that can never be taken away from you. It will help you get a better job. It will help you to getting promoted, and it will help you effectively get more money as well. And you will have moments during the program where you likely have to put your job at second place. I had to do that. Just simply, I had to choose where I dedicate my time more. And I really believe that you have to always prioritize the MBA no matter what. You have only 2 years. Do it as good as you can. Pause any huge career jumps at your work. Just dedicate the time in the MBA, because once that degree is finished, no one can ever take that away from you. The other one is networking. As Patrick mentioned, it is absolutely huge, especially through the thesis. You are able to connect to people in your industry, senior people in your industry, and they get to know you, and they offer you jobs, which happened to me as well. So that is an absolutely key benefit of that program, the networking aspect, which will help you further in your career. And again, as I mentioned, the baby steps. I'm a passionate hiker, and I always looked at the MBA like the German Alps. No one is so crazy enough that hikes the mountain in one go. Do something every day. Even if you just read some chapter, or even if you're so tired, just still go to the office and just get used to that habit to do something every day. And crossing a mountain is easier when you do little steps, and your breaks, and a plan where to walk next.
Thanks, Julie. Some great tips there. And I suppose just to pick up on, just to say we have an absolutely amazing team on the MBA program. We have a great set of lecturers, all supportive to the students and to each other. And absolutely, if you are worried about an assignment in the future, and I think please do reach out. I suppose when we start programs, we might be a little afraid to communicate with the lecturer for fear of, you know, they might think we're not up to the standard or whatever. That's definitely not the case. You know, all of the team are there to help you and guide you, and we've been more than willing to give you advice on your assignments. And yes, absolutely, Julia, baby steps will get you there, you know, in the end, and it always does. So over to you, Patrick. Thanks, Julia. Over to you, Patrick, for your top tips.
Yeah, sure. I would second that, Angela. Just that the lecturers and those on the program are extremely approachable. So if you have questions even beforehand, I would recommend to reach out, because there's a wealth of knowledge there on the program already. with those that are operating it. Definitely, obviously, discuss it with family, partners, or friends. Whether it's the time commitment involved. It is 2 years, so it's a significant portion of your life. So that's important too, to make those provisions. And finally, if you haven't already done so, I would certainly engage with your employer. They may very well get on board with you with this program, provide you support, whether that be with time, with your scheduling, or even financially. So it can be a great idea to engage with them, because they may surprise you, because it can be to the benefit of the company that you're working for as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point to actually, Patrick, there as well. Do reach out to your company, your line manager. They might be well happy to support you on that. And of course, your family and those in your network, they will support you as well. It's also very, very important. So I think we've explored most of the points there. So my sincere thank you to Julia and Patrick for taking time to come on this evening and to discuss their experiences and how they found their MBA journey. And now I'm going to hand you over to Don, and Don will open the floor to questions, and I'm sure there's lots of Q&A there in the chat. So thanks everybody, and best of luck, and reach out to us on the email if you need any more information.
So thanks, Angela, and thanks, Patrick and Julia. And in fairness, you've been very open in your answers to the questions there, and we appreciate that. There are some questions that have come in there. So again, for anybody who would like to submit a question, please do so on the Q&A at the bottom of your Zoom screen. So a question from Jory there about the modules and the timetable. So Jory asks, in terms of days and times, can we choose online, or how does this work? So basically, the classes are delivered on Wednesday evenings from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. and on Fridays from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. So Wednesdays 6 to 10 and Fridays from 3 to 8. Because they are delivered online now, typically the vast majority of classes will be recorded, so you have that availability afterwards. However, we do encourage students to attend the live classes, because with breakout rooms they won't be recorded, but equally it gives you that opportunity to ask questions and to do the networking as well online, insofar as that is possible. Mm-hmm. We will have approximately 3 weeks each semester. So our semester runs from September until Christmas and from January until May, and we will bring students in for 2 to 3 weeks each semester. And that is really for that peer networking and that relationship building with your class. It will also allow us to maybe bring some guest speakers into the class as well, as opposed to doing those online. So while it is mostly online, we will be looking for you to come to Bishopstown on campus 2 to 3 weeks each semester. So I hope that answers that, Jory. Next question asks about the actual kind of delivery mode or the delivery style, I suppose, for each semester, and the timetable. Again, it is 4 modules in semester 1 and 4 modules in semester 2. So then in second year, we have semester 3, and that is 1 elective module, which you choose from a list of modules that we give you, and I'll come back to that. And we also have your international business trip to Leuven outside Brussels, which is 5 days, which spans over a weekend as well, which means that typically you're only taking the Friday and the Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday off, because we're there Saturday and Sunday working as well. In semester 1 and semester 2, those 4 modules that you take, the 2 strategy modules are worth 10 credits. And your other modules are worth 5 credits. So in semester 1, so from September to Christmas of first year, you will take research methods with Angela, exploring corporate strategy, which is 10 credits, applied business finance with Mick O'Callaghan, and leadership and organizational behavior with Jane Leonard. Then in semester 2, from January to May of first year, you take economics, global business strategy, again worth 10 credits, contemporary issues, and IT and analytics for business. So that's your second semester of first year. So by the time you get to the end of first year, you actually have 50 of your credits, and it's a 90 credit MBA. So by the end of first year, you actually have 50 credits completed. In the first semester of second year, we have the international trip, which is worth 5 credits. You have your 1 elective, and typically there students will choose from operations strategy, organizational change management, and strategic corporate finance. And some of those have been mentioned as well earlier. So they are each worth 5 credits, and the student picks one. So that's worth 5 credits in semester 1 of second year. Your international trip to Brussels is worth 5 credits. So then we're at 60 credits of your 90 credit masters, and the last 30 credits are your research thesis, which you work on throughout second year, but really so in the second semester. But you are doing some work on that as well in your first semester. So I hope that answers that question there. And in terms of your research project, the next question is, can I choose the research topic from a work focus, for instance? So yes, and we encourage that. And Angela, I might come back to you, and I know Patrick and Julia spoke about it there as well, just about the accessibility that it gave them to senior people in their sectors. So we encourage people certainly to do that, because that research thesis is what differentiates you from the others in your class who've done the same MBA. You've taken and done a different research thesis. So Angela, would you like to add to that?
Absolutely. So we encourage any topic at all that you would like to research, I suppose, but in the context, in the business context, okay? So that can apply to your work, obviously. It can apply to something you're interested in that has nothing to do with your work. And actually, funny enough, many students do that as well. I've had students that pick something that's totally different. Why would they do that? They might do that because they want to look at a change of career. And Patrick mentioned that earlier. You know, it could be you want to go in a new direction. Maybe you want to look at ethical practices, sustainability. Maybe you want to trial a new managerial practice in your workplace. So we've had that as well, where somebody it's called action research might actually apply a new working model to their work practices. Now, again, you need buy-in from your working organisation for that, but that's usually okay because it's done in conjunction with your work. So, I mean, absolutely, the sky is the limit. I suppose what I always say to students when they ask me about it, I say, this is your time now to take this and make this your own, and it's your time to shine. And students and graduates, and I know for a fact, take their thesis into interviews with them, and they discuss their thesis and you know, the big body of work that was completed and how they researched and how they did it. And they highlight that and put a spotlight on it and demonstrate how that would be beneficial to the hiring company in terms of their research skills, their writing skills, and all of that. The other thing that the thesis does, and for sure, and I know students would say that, and I'm sure Julia and Patrick would say this as well, is it puts a real shine on your writing skills. I suppose you really do up your game in relation to that. And how is that beneficial? It's very beneficial when you have to write projects, when you have to write reports for work, when you have to research for something. I suppose we know in today's workplace, you know, we can't make sweeping statements. We have to look at the evidence, what's the evidence here. So you gain great skills and insights in terms of that. So, I mean, if you're interested and you want to start the program, I know some people on the call this evening are already enrolled and they're starting in September. Think about your topic now. What would you like to do? What are you interested in? I suppose what sparks your interest? You know, it could be something that you come across in your daily work and you say your daily life, or you say, God, I'd love to find a solution to that or that problem. So typically we look at problems and we research them and we find solutions. So I suppose that's my answer to that one.
Okay, thanks, Angela. And as I said, I know, to be fair as well, that Patrick and Julia did cover that as well, even in their presentations or in their discussion earlier. So we, as I said, we do encourage you to use a work focus and to work with your employer perhaps on your research topic. The next question there is, can you give an example of some of the types of projects and continuous assessments that students do? Is there an opportunity to integrate or apply this to your own work or to an industry context? So I might maybe come to Julia and Patrick there for some examples perhaps of some of the continuous assessments and projects that you might have done throughout the 2 years, and any of those that were linked to industry or your own employer. So again, the question is, can you give an example of the type of projects and continuous assessment requirements? And is there an opportunity to integrate or apply this to your own work or an industry context? So Julia, I might come to you please first.
One subject that really just crosses my mind, it's also something Patrick mentioned, was finance. So we were totally flexible on what company or industry we would choose to kind of write an assignment about an analysis of their financial performance. And that really was great to have that flexibility. And obviously that knowledge, then writing an assignment about stock market or inflation and all these kind of things, I could take that knowledge and use it, for example, during conversation with my clients, and really taking that expertise I gained through that analysis and apply it to my work. So 100%. And all of the models were like that. And that was the greatest thing. Like the assignment was quite clear and what the outcome was, but how you do it, with which company you do it, that's totally up to you. And that's great because you can pick something that you're interested in, and that kind of then, you know, makes it easier for you to finish it and complete it with excellence.
Okay, thanks, Julia. And Patrick, are there any examples you want to give there?
Yeah, absolutely. As soon as you asked the question, it immediately reminded me. I did that for almost all of the modules, really, whenever we had the opportunity. It was great in two senses. Number one, I thought it gave me an immediate advantage with the assignment because I was kind of working with what I had done in my own background. And kind of secondly, it gave me ideas then for what I'd bring back to the table at work. So two quick examples. One was in IT and analytics. I assessed the hospitality business from a point of view of technology, but more than that, artificial intelligence as well, and where it's going for our industry, information on exceeding guest expectations, you know, building profiles on guests, knowing what they're looking for. So that assignment went very well for me. And another one was global strategy. And whatever way the subject of the assignment went, I ended up going through a couple of my own management changes in recent roles. And my whole assignment was built around that. And that was well received by that lecturer at that time as well. So right across the modules, as Julia said, I used that both to my advantage and also to bring back to work.
Okay, thanks, Patrick. I think it's good to note as well, or it's an appropriate time to note that for some of the modules as well, then we have live case studies where employers will come in or companies will come in and posit a problem that they are facing or an opportunity perhaps as well. And the students will work as well then to come up with strategies or with ways in which the company can exploit that opportunity as well. So certainly that link to industry is hugely important. Another question, and it's good for clarity, asking, can I elaborate on the 2 to 3 weeks on campus per semester? Is that in one continuous block? So typically what we're doing there is we're asking students to come in week 1, again halfway through the semester and towards the end of the semester. So it allows us, the students the opportunity in week 1 to get to know each other, to maybe exchange details. Patrick mentioned earlier about the WhatsApp group and things like that, and that's very important as well for communication in the class. So to get all of that done to a lecture class representative and to start that networking. In week 6 or so, again, about halfway through the semester, it's a good time to bring students back for a grounding on campus. At that time, maybe people are starting to have questions around projects and around exams that will be coming up later in the semester. And again, towards the end of the semester, it's good to have students back, maybe for student presentations and also for questions around exams or any exam revision classes that may need to be done. So it's not in one continuous block. It would be typically beginning, middle, and end of the semester. But the real benefit of that is that networking, that relationship building, and the opportunity as well just to relate to your lecturers. And going back, I suppose, to some of the comments as well throughout the discussion here, the program has outstanding lecturers with a really strong mix of industry experience and academia. The lecturing team comprises people with who are qualified engineers, accountants, backgrounds in marketing, in organizational psychology, in research. So there's a really good mix of industry and business acumen coming with the academic skill set as well. So that's really important to acknowledge. There's a very mutually respectful relationship and culture as well between class and the lecturers and the faculty. And there is that appreciation of the demands that part-time students have. As I said at the outset, typically the student coming on the MBA is ambitious and motivated and is at a certain point in their career already. So that brings demands with it, as well as the demands of personal life and so on. So we do acknowledge that profound personal sacrifice that people make when they come on the MBA. And as I said, the lecturers are very good to work with the students around deadlines and so on. as may be necessitated by work commitments and demands. I think that is it in terms of the questions that we have there. Before I do a wrap up, just Patrick, Julia, Angela, is there anything that you would like to add?
Just add something there, Don, to some of your comments. I suppose just to give you the experience of what happened last year in terms of the on-campus piece. So typically what happened was all of the lecturers delivered their lectures online. And what we did then was we went in on the evening for the networking, and as Don said, to discuss maybe assessments and that. So that worked very well, because then there was nobody missed their lecture as such, and then the on-campus piece was a network piece. And I'd like to also add to the comments around the authentic assessment. So that's the life case studies. So over the years, we've had tremendous success with those. We did have to press a little pause on them because of COVID-19, and we weren't able to interact with companies as much. But in the past, we've had huge success working with City Council. We developed, just on one of my own modules, we developed a city charter for the city that's operational now, and it was very engaging for students to work on that live case studies. So most of the lecturers worked with live case studies and authentic assessment, which is very good. And I'd also like to also mention, and Don mentioned it there, that we are very keen that we have a very strict dignity and respect policy for all. And that includes for all of you as students, that you all have dignity and respect for each other, and for your peers in the class, and of course for your lecturers. And that's going to be one of our main policies moving forward on our MBA as well. So thanks everybody for me.
Thanks, Angela. Patrick or Julia, have you any closing remarks?
Patrick,
Oh, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity, and it's great to speak to everybody. And I've enjoyed chatting through the few questions, and I'll pass over to Julia.
Thanks,
No,
Patrick.
yeah, same. Everyone, I wish you best of luck. Enjoy the 2 years. It will be, for me, it was one of the best years in my academically life, and best of luck and enjoy it.
Thanks, Julia. So just a couple of questions that have come in since about exams. So in semester 1, you have 4 modules, as we mentioned. One of those has a final exam, that's applied business finance. The other 3 modules will have various components of continuous assessment and projects and presentations that will be delivered. Generally, we manage the students' workload there, so that's not all coming in the 1 week. So typically that would come over 2 weeks at the end, but the projects and the presentations would be in addition to that as well, kind of towards maybe week 11 and week 12 as we approach the end of the semester. The application process as well, someone asks, can I advise on the application process and the deadline? So in terms of the application process, you can apply, and applications are open right now, and we have already accepted some applicants onto the program for September. We tend to have a maximum class size of 20 typically, so we would encourage people to apply as soon as possible. You can apply through the MTU Business Academy.ie. If you Google MTU MBA, it automatically will bring up the program as well. That'll bring you into the MTU Business Academy site, and there you're able to click on the apply button. Again, typically we're looking for people who will have a level 8 honours degree already. A lot of people will have that in another discipline, a technical discipline other than business, but business graduates will also apply for the program and have been very successful thereon as well. Finally, before we finish up, and I'm conscious as well of time because I know we're almost at the hour, just to say that for those of you who do sign up for this program with MTU, you will be in the safe hands of a very qualified and experienced lecturing team, a team that is very familiar with working with part-time students and working with industry. The program to date and the program that was its predecessor, the Master of Business program, have an excellent track record, many tremendous research outputs as well, with students getting research papers and publications out of those too, but some incredible learning that students are able to take back to their own employer. We mentioned earlier as well on a couple of occasions about people maybe moving role, going for promotions, and switching role within their own organisation or other employers. Typically, again, we will find that during the MBA, a lot of students will actually move jobs while they're studying the MBA. So prospective employers see that potential in the MBA student while they're studying it. Again, you have a great range of guest speakers that are brought in for each of the modules. So it is a highly regarded program. As I said, we're also members of the MBA Association of Ireland, so you get that membership as well. Applications are now open. Check out the MTU Business Academy.ie, and for further information also you can email mba@mtu.ie. So thank you everyone, and if you have any inquiries, be sure to contact us.